here with Professor Jackson. You just gave a keynote this morning regarding slower and sustainable growth. Could you sum up the idea you exposed there in short sentences?
Yeah, so it's really teasing apart the concept of prosperity, which is about doing well in life and doing well in society, and teasing that apart from economic growth. So economic growth can be the means to living well, but it's not the same thing as living well. And so in brief, I suppose I would sum it up by saying it's the idea that we could actually live better with less materialistic lives. We could have more fun with less stuff, and that the motivation for doing that is actually that lives that are full of stuff are not just less satisfying, but they are also environmentally unsustainable. It's absolutely clear that we can't sustain the levels of material consumption that we've had in the past in advanced economies for a world of 10 billion people on the planet in 2050. We have to have another economic model.
In your book, you talk about a change of mentality we need to go on this path. Do you believe that such an abrupt change in the mentality of people and society would be possible?
It isn't going to be easy to change people's minds overnight and to change society and culture overnight. But what we have to sort of understand here is that we already did change people's minds. We created the consumer society. We created the idea of the consumer. We made ourselves believe that actually our immediate material appetites for our own selfish desires are the most important thing in the world. And it was a very deliberate process. It happened in particular after the Second World War, and it happened because of the crash that happened before the Second World War. There was a deliberate attempt to say that we need to stimulate consumer demand. How do we do that? We make people believe that this consumer world, this material world, satisfies all their demands. And so we handed over all of the elements of prosperity to the idea of material stuff. We created more stuff, and sometimes in the process less fun. And that's actually what we're asking to do now, is say actually that system, that process is dysfunctional, it's destroyed the environment, it's running out of resources, it's even stopping in its own terms, and it's not the best quality of life for people on the planet anyway. Maybe we can do something different. And of course we can change, and we can change actually because as human beings we're not just consumers, we're not just selfish hedonists. And the knowledge of psychology and sociology and anthropology tells us that absolutely precisely. Human beings are empathetic creatures who care about others and have a view to the past, a view to the future, and it's not just about instant gratification, it is about a deeper sense of fulfillment. That is an appetite that ordinary human beings have, and we've almost deliberately tried to push that to the side and pitch ourselves as selfish materialists. It's a disservice to who we are as human beings.
So what should policymakers do to get back there? What would be the concrete steps we should do in the near future?
I mean, policymakers are faced with a really difficult situation because what is very evident, resource scarcity aside, climate change aside, taking all of those things out of the picture, we're faced with economies which in the developed world in particular, in advanced economies, are not showing the kinds of growth that we saw in the last decades of the 20th century. It's a very, very different environment. It's a process that's been changing over some time. But one thing is absolutely clear, that model of the economy does not work anymore. And so the first thing politicians actually should be sitting down and doing is saying, where is the economy of tomorrow? Where is the economy that's going to deliver quality of life, full employment, protection of the environment, and decent living standards, even for the poorest in our community? And that's a process, that's a political process to decide on change, to initiate change, to put resources behind the kinds of enterprise that we want, and to create the kind of investment that we want. And when you start to break the task down in that way, first sit down and ask the question. Second, establish what kind of economy you would like. Which enterprises matter in this new economy? How do you make sure that people are employed in this economy? These are all tasks that live within the remit, the everyday remit of policymakers. It's what they should be doing all the time in pursuit of a decent economy, a strong economy, a stable society, and a good quality of life.
So if we continue growing and developing the way we're doing right now, what would be, what would tomorrow look like?
In the way that we have in the past, this kind of growth is clearly unsustainable. We're depleting resources, we're degrading the climate, we're destroying species at a rate that's unprecedented in human history. The loss of biodiversity, the loss of the quality of our soils, the degradation of our oceans. This is a dystopia. This is a place where we do not want our kids to be living. This is a place where it will be uncomfortable, and a place where actually the economic system itself will begin to be destabilized and will eventually fall apart. The choice is not a choice between one where we go on being wonderful materialistic consumers and everything is great in the future, or whether we stop that and start wearing hair shirts. It's a choice between a dystopian future where we've destroyed the resources on which we depend, and a choice and a society where we can live better, more fulfilling, more flourishing lives, having more fun with less stuff.
You've got a very interesting opinion about growth, and we really want to share that. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your time. Thanks.